David Uosikkinen in the Pocket is sponsored by the School of Rock Main Line. I'd like to thank the School of Rock Main Line, located at 511 Old Lancaster Road in Berwyn. You can visit their website at schoolofrock.com. Ask for Dave Marsh or Rick Allison.
Hey everybody, I'm Andy Weinberg, and welcome to episode 119 of the David Uosikkinen in the Pocket podcast. We're joined for 119th episode by another great drummer, Freddie Berman.
The man.
Freddie B. is with us in the studio. And speaking of drummers, we got another one on the line. We're going to be joining in just a second. He's out in California. He's from San Francisco, but don't Eagles fans don't hate him for that. Because he's a great guy and he's a great drummer. His name is Mike Vanderhule. You probably know him from Y&T. He's done a lot of other great stuff, and we're thrilled to have him on. So, Rich, let's get Mike Vanderhule on. We'll jump right to it.
Hey guys.
Hey, buddy.
Can you hear me all right? Yeah.
Hey, everything's going to be all right, man. Now that we see you, how are you, man?
Good. Thanks for having me on. This is fun. Yeah,
it sure is.
It's been a long time. You and I have been meaning to meet up, hasn't it?
Exactly. And you know what's funny about it? I just thought about this because over the summer we played at, I was telling you about that venue out in San Francisco, Saratoga. Was it Sarah? The Mountain Winery, right? Beautiful. Winery. And so I we play our show, and I hung out for a little bit, and then I got you have to take one of those little. You get driven up there in this little cart up to your bus, and I'm literally in my bunk ready to crash out, and I get a message that Mike was down in the dressing room. So I call them up and I say, listen, man, can you get me a drive back down there? I come running down. I think I might even came in my pajamas or something. And I was like, Mike, Yeah. So because Mike and I have a connection with a buddy of ours, Rolf Flew from I don't even know if I'm pronouncing Ralph's name correctly, but Ralph is at
Rolf Fau.
Okay,
yeah.
So he's at All Access. It's a cartage company in Germany, and we both have been working with Rolf for years. And he would say to me, Dave, you got to meet Mike. You'd love this guy. And then from what I hear from Rolf told you the same thing. And then finally we were playing, we connected, but it was the same kind of thing like today. We were supposed to start a little while ago, ran into some issues. You were incredibly patient as you are. And here we are hanging out together online, man. So we're excited to chat with you, bro.
Yeah. And back at you, man. This is going to be fun. Looking forward to it. But absolutely no talking about drums, right?
I'm going to sit out.
Everybody just went silent. Oh my God, what do we talk about?
Football. You guys talk drums.
Just football. We won't go too deep into football, but listen, even before we started talking a little bit about the fact that you're from San Francisco. I know Y&T. I was, even though I've known of the band for a long time, but that band originated in Oakland. So I'm just assuming that you were a Raiders fan, and then you told me you grew up in San Francisco. And you're a Niners fan. So we were going into a little bit of the sports thing, us being the Eagles. Yeah. In case you don't know, the Eagles and the Niners have created they have a bit of a rivalry for sure, man. I think the two best teams in the NFL are playing. Mike is a fan. I'm a longtime Eagles fan. I think Freddie is too, and I know Andy is. So we're outnumbering you, bro. But we got huge. We're musicians.
So friends in or what?
Lots of respect, brother. A lot of respect for that team. And you, man. I mean, you've had a hell of a career, man. Like unbelievable. Like the one thing that's so cool about doing this podcast, and is that you get to really not only I knew about the stuff that you've done, and I know about Y&T, but I didn't realize the depth and some of the people that you've worked with over the years and the breadth of your drumming. Like you it's a wide scope, man. Your style, you've played with a lot of different people, and you're able to walk that line. And I mean, what a career, dude.
Thank you. As you know, it doesn't happen overnight. So that band you end up in, there's a lot of names that came along the way, and a lot of ups and downs and trial and error. And like you tell all your students, if you have to question, is this what I want to do for a living? Then it's not for you. You know, you got to eat, breathe, and sleep it. So yeah, it was just a lot of, I started out like everybody else, just playing bar bands and clubs and all styles of music and a lot of R&B and soul, playing live with drum machines when all the dance stuff came in. And that really helped learning how to play the sequencers and clicks. Thank God, because later on I survived that, where a lot of guys got replaced, But playing kinds of music with everybody and just following what path was there and trying to keep a good attitude, and it's led me to where I am now, both sessions. And I never thought I'd be in a quote unquote metal band, but because I'm versatile, I can play. And Y&T is a fairly versatile band for a hard rock band. You know what I mean? So,
very, very musical. You're very musical, and you must be, because when I announced the fact that you're gonna be with us, I posted that, like drummers love you. Like my buddy Johnny D. D wrote. He wrote Mikey.
I love
Mikey.
Johnny. Yeah. We were just on the Monsters of Rock cruise about 4 doors down from each other, so we saw each other every day. And what a great guy and a great player himself. Hell yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And you survived. You talked about playing with, we could go on like the Panic. Like I remember, like one time my band said to me, I think I told you about this too. He said, "Oh yeah, we're going to start like using the click live." Yeah. Like the studio, it's one thing, but all of a sudden you get into your sort of live situation. You're like playing in front of 5,000-10,000 people, and you got to click, and you got other guys that are like way ahead of the click, and you got to like zone in. That was like, I did that tour. I think I wanted 3 months. I almost wanted to quit. And then all of a sudden it started happening. But it really took a while for me to get that studio, no problem. But live, oh my goodness, because I was dealing with everybody's blood pressure. Right.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
You overcome that stuff.
Yeah, I watched a lot of drummers go down who were forced to play to a click live, and they just shove the headphones on them and crank that thing up. Or even the days, some guys don't like headphones, so it's blasting on stage in the monitor next to them. It's torture. But that's no way to play to a click. It's impossible. I was fortunate that coming up, like I said, the guys would put the Lynn drum machine right next to me, and I was playing with all these dance bands, and I was like the minority in the band and learning and watching the dancers and taking it all in. And at first it was hard, and they're just like, play with the beats and you do all the fills and the colors and the symbols, and it became really fun. And then years later, I was one of those guys when Weckel and John Robinson and everybody were doing it. I had like a 6'2" rack of effects and triggers, and I'm micing myself and mixing it all together. And then I'm hooked up with the keyboard player, and we're playing like sequences and stuff. So it became a way more musical thing. And I give that to, that's taught me everything I need to know about playing to a click or sequences or loops. And you look at guys like one of my heroes who you had on, Mickey Curry, and you look at the early Hall & Oates and stuff, and they were playing along with drum machines and Jeff Porcaro and the Michael Jackson stuff. That was the thing back then, So that was my school.
It's an art. It really is an art, and you got to work at it. Conceptually, I remember I visualized, I would just tell the guys that I want to invite Sam Clayton from Little Feat. I like to invite Sam on. We had Paul Barrera on before, and I'd like to invite Sam because Sam was always the guy I would visualize, even if it was a cowbell, just playing to Sam, that was it. And it's almost like you got to humanize the electronics or the digitality of the whole thing. Is that a word? Digitality? I just made it up, I mean, but it is really something. And listen, you just got to, you just got to get on board with that thing, because that's not going away.
Right.
I recently I saw somebody post, a friend of mine posted something about, like, I don't know about you. I use, do you use in ears when you play?
Got them on right now.
There we go. Beautiful. There you go. That says it all. A lot of guys, like, I'm almost surprised now when I see somebody on the road that's not using them. On the road, it's like almost essential. And for me, as I got older, I was having trouble hearing all the, with all the noise and everything on stage. It clarified something. Got the clarity of it got better. You know what I mean? But I'm always really surprised when I see the old school cats doing it, with a monitor or wedge, and they're playing. Some people don't want to go down that rabbit hole. Yeah.
I just saw Queen a few weeks ago, and speaking of that, Roger and Brian, no in-ears. They were playing live stacks. Almost every song was live in a big arena. But when they walked out on the ramp and did the special stuff where he had another kid out there and a guitar, then they had him on. But it wasn't for playing the tracks or anything like that. It was still all natural, Amazing to see. We have to say that nowadays. Like, oh, they weren't playing to a click. It was all real. Well, duh. That's the way it's supposed to be.
I was thinking about that on my ride over here today, because I grew up on the Beatles and the Stones, and Charlie Watts. I remember trying to emulate Charlie Watts. Playing with bands, and I would visualize Charlie, but I'd be doing my thing. But as a young player, I was like, I'd see how Charlie would do. There was only one Charlie. And he could and I remember Charlie, sometimes you'd hear songs start up at one tempo and they'd end up at another. It was the beauty of it all. It was live. Stones still do that,
Right.
Only a few people can get away with that. I remember I'm going I can't get away with that. You know what I mean? The guys in my band would want to kill me,
Right.
What are you doing here,
Well, if you listen, I read a lot about Steve Jordan, how he produces those records that feel so damn good, like John Mayer's, and he says, they might practice to a click or get a feel, but then when they cut, it's natural because they're all so good. It's him and Pino and John, and it just, that's how you get a nice natural feel if you're good at keeping time already. Yeah, because time is meant to breathe. And speaking of that, it's in a nutshell, learning to play to clicks. I'll just say this: it's like in the 80s, there was drum machines, and we either had to play to them or replace them. So all the little subtleties had to be right on the money, which eventually made you not sound like you had good feel. Because when you took it away, you were playing metronomically perfect, like I call it like a sprinkler. You know what I mean? That's what your hi-hat sounds like. So, you watch it, like Dave Weckl claims he was like that. We all loved it. But how did he loosen up, get that new incredible feel and all these guys? And it's about, I eventually learned to when you're practicing to a click, put the click on, every 2 beats, every 4 beats, every 2 bars, and then just get that downbeat and play in between and move around. And if you listen to guys like Bonnet or Bernard Purdie, the funk guys, and you listen to it naturally, the groove had that. I almost felt like that downbeat was late, but the one is where it's at. Everything else will become this elastic time. Just every note in between will stretch and find its place, So, I've been accused, like I said recently, I won't say any names, but there's a couple of guys that we use in Nashville that we send tracks to when we're done with our side of it, And this one bass player rung me up and he goes, hey, I'm looking at the grid here. Do you want me to play with your bass drum or on the grid? Because you're missing a bunch of them, Like, what? Just shut that crap off and just play to me and let's play music, It's like, I couldn't believe that. But, I could be better. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but it's about the feel.
It's philosophical what you're talking about. Because what is that? I won't mention him, but Eric Bazillion would say, would say, do you want me to play to you or do you want me to play to the click? I want you to play to me, Jack. That's the way it is. But it is funny. I mean, because you learn to swing with that thing. My man next to me, he grooves with the click. Awesome. He grooves with it, that's what I attempt to do. I make that thing, like I said, I visualize that being a human. Because if I don't, it's that. I don't want that. I want it to feel good,
So what was your training on it then?
I'm sorry?
No, I was talking to him. What's your training on the click then? If you make it feel so good, how did you come up?
Well, first of all, I try to use musical elements, kind of like what you were saying about what you were doing live. I hate just the sterile, Pro Tools click. Yeah. So I bring my own loops.
Oh, nice.
So I play to there's a click there. But there'll be one channel for a loop, one channel for a click.
Nice.
So it's musical.
Yeah. There you go.
Gotta have it, man. You gotta have it because then if it isn't there, to me it's not music. You know what I mean? I think that was really where. I don't know. The shows. No one wanted their money back when I said I went through this back in the day. Everybody was happy.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy. I was like, you know what? It's not feeling because I remember this. I don't know, it was lackadaisical. I wasn't that, but because I want every show to be great, but I was like, it just didn't feel to me like it used to feel. Well, oh man, that was amazing. But then at some point, I don't remember when it was, maybe sometimes toward the end of the tour went like, because I think at one point, one of the guys in my band said, let's lose this thing. And I said, no fucking way are we losing that now. Because now I'm making, now I got it working for me, man. No way. And listen, when you've been on the road for a long time and you know that, like with me, sometimes I know that I'm getting tired. I don't know if my judgment isn't always as good as it was when I first started. So I may want to play something at a certain tempo where it isn't, even though I've got a reference, So that click is like to me, it's the argument solver. It just is, that's it, man.
Exactly.
Because I got dudes that try to argue over the clicks tempo. Yeah. Hey, that can't be right. Hey, listen, that's the one you wanted. That's it. It is right, because we feel different. We feel songs are different from one song to another. If you're playing long enough, sometimes you wake up, your body chemistry is a little different that day. It changes, man.
Yeah, I keep a Tama rhythm watch next to me. I don't like using the light. I pipe it into my in-ears, but I don't play to it. I just listen to it for a little while and just get the groove while they introduce the song. Because you travel on a bus all day and you think you're like smoking and wide awake and you're not, or the other way around, you're all hyped up to play and it's like, damn, it's a lot slower. You just got to relax. And because I'm telling you, if like with class, if Dave's got to sing too slow and hold the notes out long, it kills him. If it's too fast, it kills him. And he's got to sing 4 or 5 nights a week sometimes. So you got to get those tempos where he's comfortable, And the audience knows the songs,
Yeah. And it's interesting that you bring that up because the only reason that we really went to using the click was because of the vocals. I know, like as the guys got older, that they needed that consistency every night because they, the guys I work with, they're constantly they warm up before the shows. They want it consistent. So even if it's off like a beat or something, or even like points on a beat, their breathing gets affected. So I mean, it's an interesting thing, and there's probably people out there, oh, geez, why do you even use that? But really, I mean, I got 2 guys that are up there fronting like you do, like I call the leaders of the band. Where we're kind of like leading the tempo, like there's different leaders in the band, we got to make that happen. But at the same time, they got to front that song, sing that song, and they have to be at their best when they do it. So they want to be able to feel it right,
On the other hand, though, if they're pushing or pulling, I'm not going to fight them. You know what I mean? If it's the leader doing it, they're trying to tell me something without having to go, come on,
So what are you doing? Tell me what's going on with you right now? What are you doing right now?
Things are still kind of slow with the band. Ever since COVID, it's like Dave last year had prostate cancer, and he's doing great now. He's complete remission. He's fine. They caught it really early. So, but now we're trying to get back out there, and it's really tough for bands at our level. We don't have as many hits as, say, the Hooters or a Night Ranger or somebody like that. So it's hard to get in a van or whatever and travel around the country or do fly dates, do that, because hotels and fuel, it's just, especially the hotels, it's ridiculous, But next year's the 50th anniversary of the band, so we did manage to put together. We're playing a bunch of, so far, we're going to add to this, but so far we're playing a bunch of the West Coast dates here. So, that we do well and that don't have a lot over in. We're going to Japan. That's set in stone. We got the Monsters of Rock cruise. And then we're doing Europe and the UK in the fall, and hopefully some more US dates in there. We'll see what's to come. It's all being put together. But, in the meantime, it's like, okay, during COVID, I found out Plan B actually works. I've been teaching for like 38 years, and through COVID, I started doing it on Zoom too. And I teach like all around the world, and it's really fun, either on Zoom or in person. And that's been doing well for me. And also sessions. Luckily, I learned how reel to reel throughout the 80s, early 90s. And then I got like in 1990, the very first home version of Pro Tools, the 001, and brought that home. And so that led to way before COVID, I was tracking drums at my own studio on my own, playing with people. And when COVID hit, man, it's just like I got these calls like, hey, you know how to do this, right? Because we can't even see our drummer, let alone record a record with him, So I started playing on people's records, and some of those were cool. I got James Durbin, which I sent a song out of that, which was really fun. James Durbin's an American Idol runner-up, and we did this record where we're all around the country, all these all-stars, and it's just killing. I'm so proud of it. And if you listen to it, it sounds like we all have been playing together for years,
Yeah,
so
it sounds it. And man, it really, I'll tell you what, we were listening to it while we were locked out for a little bit. And then, of course, you sent it to us and we was checking it out. And I'm actually surprised we didn't talk about this. You cut that individually in your own studios and put it together. That's really pretty masterful. Especially with, like rocking, because it's really rocking, man. I mean, it really is.
It's the heaviest stuff I've ever done. And James Durbin is a fan of like Judas Priest, early Iron Maiden, early Dio, everybody, and so he's just too young to live through that. But he went back and did his homework, and the guy wrote songs like that are very melodic, and they were so catchy that I couldn't help but like fall in love with the stuff, and all the songs are stuck in my head. And it's the heaviest thing I've ever done. Tons of double bass and fast riffing, but I love it.
I was telling Freddie and Andy about like your double bass work, man. It's just like phenomenal, and play at that tempo like that. I don't know, that kind of not mid tempo, but just a little bit above that, like maybe like 150 somewhere. You were out there doing it. Like, you hear some of that stuff these days, with like this is like, but locked in where you're just, and your footwork is just, it's phenomenal.
Thank you, man. It means a lot to you.
We do have
Calling on Midnight.
I don't know if Rich has that queued up, but it would be nice to play that. Rich, if you do have Calling on Midnight, let's turn that baby up.
Crank it.
Crank it.
Wasn't James Durbin, wasn't he Quiet Riot for a couple of years too?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you over the music. What?
Oh, sorry about that. Wasn't James Durbin in Quiet Riot for a couple of years also?
Yes, for a long time. I think like almost 10 years or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's killer. Yeah, you can that by the way, he wants a plug for that, I'm sure. It's streaming everywhere on every streaming service. And if you want to buy the CD, it's kind of a pain in the ass. It's got to come out of that Italian record company. So yeah, you just stream it for now. If you love it, try and dig it up and order it. But yeah, he might have more information on his website. But yeah.
You played. You supplied drums to a few different well-known people over the last couple of years. Waybill, right? Did you do something?
Oh yeah. I played a song on his solo album, and years ago when I was starting up my own recording thing, we were hanging because the Tubes and us live close together, so we play shows and I see him a lot. So I just said, hey, I've been tracking drums, and it's like, hey, if you need a song on anything, like I told him, I love his singing and his playing, his writing, and him and Richard Marks write together for everybody. So they have this song ready to go, and I'm like, man, I'll play on it, man. If you like the tracks, keep them. If you don't, no worries, man. And this one's yours for free if you ever want to use me again. And that's how that came about. So yeah, so that was cool.
Wow. Yeah, that's terrific, man. It's funny because now with what you told me about that Nashville story.
Yeah.
To me, when I heard that, like, see, that's a decision that you threw it out there, and then obviously somebody who's going to mix it. There's a lot of dead guys now these days. They're going to mix it, and they're going to go like, oh, I'm gonna fix the drums.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. You kept that thing. To me, you kept it real.
Yeah.
It's not, you sound like you can play, you're playing the song beautifully, but you kept that live, fresh thing going on with it, which, fortunately nobody went in there and said, oh, we're going to plug this into the grid. you know, and suck the life right out of the fucker. You know,
no, it sounded like a machine. And a lot of the companies do that. And, you know, you give it to the record company, they have a team that immediately fixes it. And they have their sound library too. Are you kidding me? Our shit sounds good. Yeah. So, yes,
it's
James
really cool.
Saying towards the end of that song, we get really busy and we're playing all these, the solo and the parts and the fills and stuff. And it's just like, it takes a certain, you know, you got to listen to each other and stay out each other's way too. That's just as big a thing about breathing and sending it to other guys. And I only brought that up because Fee, that was one of the things he told me. He goes, I would love for you to take a shot at this, because he said Richard Marks, he was living in Nashville at the time, way back then, and he said Richard gives it to all these Nashville guys and they all play it perfect. You know, it's like they're all scared of losing their gig if they take a chance, you know. And he goes, I know you're just going to kick ass, and, you know, let the cymbals ring, let the fills vibrate, let everything resonate, be a little ahead or behind. That's what makes music come alive, you know?
Oh, I love that he's like that. That's great. So many cats out there that they're just like, their eyeballs are glued to that grid. And they're not hearing the music anymore. Because when you really just sit back and listen, you go, man, what that fucking dude is playing is awesome. Is awesome. You know? You know, don't get me started about that. I think that's what you know, it's funny when I heard that. Like, you played with somebody from UFO, right?
Early on, I was in a band called Soul Motor. That was before Y&T, with Brian Wheat from Tesla and Tommy McLennan, who took Schenker's place in UFO, and a guy named Darren Wood singing. And that was like one of the first bands I had radio play with and stuff. And that led to Y&T, because when they were looking, I think Phil called Brian. That was one of the connections I had. But that was a blast. We actually wrote I wasn't a main writer, but I'd show up replacing another drummer, unfortunately, and fortunate for me. But I came in towards the end of it, and we rehearsed, and I put in my 2 cents, and we put it together, and I went in and recorded the stuff. So it's cool when you could do it as a band, man. That, you know, Y&T does it the same way. When you're all in a room together, and it's like, with Y&T, it was great. We're all set up ready to record, and everybody's so good at relaxing and playing to the click. We're just like, hey, that sounds great. Quick, get it before you. And it's like, I do some fills, and it's like, okay, that was a good one. Let me try. No, that was the take, man. It was like, no, you know, but it was live, and I agree now. They had the feel, you know. So,
that's awesome. Yeah, I do, and I love that whole thing of playing. Last record we played, we were all playing together on a lot of stuff. It was very cool. What were you saying?
You were asking about Mike playing with the guy from UFO. I got the list here. I mean, Mike's played with everybody.
Yeah, Mike, it's impressive.
That's all right here. I got the list here.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Is there anybody? I mean, I'm sure there's so many moments throughout your career. I always like asking a musician. Is there somebody you played with that's like one of your like? No, I was going the other way. like a holy shit moment, like I'm playing with this guy.
There's a couple. I'll give you 2 of those. The first one I think was after I got Y&T. My friends recommended me because Mick Brown couldn't play with Ronnie Montrose one night. And
Jesus.
All of us drummers, you know, even Mick called it the Big 8, because that first Montrose album, man, Denny Carmassi.
Wasn't Denny playing on it? That was Denny Carmassi, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. I love Denny.
What a band. Anyway, so I get the call to fill in on 2 gigs, and holy crap. First thing I did, because I heard he's so hard on drummers, because he's a producer, you know, so I called up every drummer I knew who'd ever played with him. Steve Smith, Jimmy DeGrasso. You know, I don't know if I talked to Denny. There were a couple guys just, what do I need to know, you know? And they just gave me some advice. But it was so funny. In rehearsal and on stage at the gigs, too, Ronnie would stand right in front of me and just stare at me like this. And in rehearsal, I just go, is something wrong, man? And he goes, no. He goes, if I'm saying something, then something's wrong. And I go, okay, cool. And he goes, I just want to be part of the rhythm section. He doesn't want to be a front man, you know? So he just wants to sit back and groove. But the only thing he did tell me was I was playing Denny Carmassi's parts because they're signature, man. It's like, I can't put in my own, you know, it's got to be that, you know? And he goes, do Dave and Phil and Y&T, do they tell you to play everything exactly like the record? I'm like, no. And he goes, then why the hell are you doing it on my stuff, you know?
Well, you're talking the Denny thing, you know, it's great.
Yeah,
Jimmy
so he gave me the green light.
Jimmy Patson played with him for a while, and he just loved Ronnie. And anybody who played Ronnie was just like, and I remember seeing Ronnie when I was probably about 17 years old. I saw him play with Edgar Winter. He did a tour with Edgar, and who was this guy? And then that record, that Montrose record with Sammy and Denny. Oh my God, you know, I mean, just
awesome. So that one, and another one of those moments was just like, this actually came while doing a podcast my buddy and I had during COVID, but we were friends before, but a Night Ranger and us do a lot of shows together. So Kelly and I have become friends, for those who don't know, Kelly Keagy, the singer, drummer, Sister Christian, all that. But he was recording a solo album and it still has yet to come out. He's putting the finishes touches on it, but he hit me up because he was stuck on a groove on this one song. And in his words, it's just like, how it is. You go to record, you got your vocabulary, the same stuff that keeps coming out. And he writes for all kinds of people. He lived in Nashville for a while, so it's got to touch country, touch that. And these are songs that aren't meant for Night Ranger. They're coming from his heart, a whole different thing, So he goes, what would you do on this? And he goes, you got Pro Tools, right? So he sends me the stuff. And I played 3 different takes where I played different verses, bridges, choruses, middle 8, everything. And I sent it back to him and I go, pick what the parts you like and we can chop it up, put it together and give you some ideas. And so we did just that. And he picked what he liked. And when it was done, I thought he was going to re-record it, and take the ideas. But he goes, man, your drums sound damn good. He goes, I'm going to keep this. This is the track, man. And then he sent me 2 more. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, I was honored because I was like,
and
first thing I said was,
too. He's a great
that's
drummer.
What I said. I go, what the hell you need me for? That's like Phil Collins asking you to play on his album,
Yeah.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
Very honored.
No, that's super cool. I remember Picaro when he asked Kurt Pescara to play on stuff that he was, he'd get Kurt to play because he loved the way Kurt played, Man, that's pretty remarkable, man.
Tell me a couple of your moments like that. It's not all about me here. Come on, let me hear a couple of your. I can't believe I'm playing with you moments. You got a lot of them.
Well, not a lot of them, but listen. Anytime I get a chance to work with anybody, I've been in a band. I've been with these guys for almost 44 years. So anytime you get to get out and have another affair with somebody, a bandmate, it's a new band. It's always something special. But I guess probably I was just telling these guys, probably doing Alice Cooper was really just incredible because when I did Alice, I thought I was only doing 1 song. Yeah. And then they had me do a couple songs. And then I went home. And then they called me back to do more songs. So I ended up doing a bunch of different producers, but I played drums on the whole album. And your friend Jimmy DeGrasso, I think he was playing with Alice at the time. Or he wasn't playing with them, but then he did the tour afterwards. And I think he had to do Lost in America. I did this song called Lost in America. That was the song I cut where they were going through drummers. But that for me was a moment where wow, man, I saw this guy when I was 16, at the Spectrum doing $1 billion babies. Yeah. And now we recorded this record. That was the moment, Even
though you're in this band, that you pretty much came up in the groundwork and made it into this, still a moment like that just makes you feel like, wow, I must be doing something right. Even though you've already got all the proof in the world,
Yeah. Totally. And sometimes it's like, wow, man, and you tried stuff like that too, Freddie, right?
I've encountered some cool people.
Yeah. You just it's a remarkable thing sometimes when you find yourself out and you're doing it and you see how other people do it, different producers work, you're doing, I mean, it was the guy that did Helmet and Nirvana, the engineer. Not Butch Vig, but there was another engineer, the guy that mixed it. I'm forgetting his name, but
you're talking about from Garbage?
No, it wasn't Butch. It was another guy that was on the record. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But I've had some at that moment, and obviously them Ronnie Montrose, and remarkable. And you also, and I think I saw you play. Did you play live gigs with Vince Neal? Did you do any live shows?
Yeah, that's all I did. I didn't record with him. Yeah.
You did live,
mostly benefits. Yeah.
Right. So tell me, what was that like working with Vince?
Well, I didn't know much about him, but I heard a lot of horror stories, I'll be honest, and I'm sure he did it too, because back in the day.
That's why I'm asking, because I'm curious about that. Tommy would have these,
Well, the first one I did was we were doing a benefit for Tony La Russa, speaking of sports, the baseball manager. He lives out here, and him and his wife were running this animal rescue foundation, or called ARF, right? And they would put on these charity benefits every year, and they would have a rock and roll night. And so they'd have all these bands on or guest artists and stuff. So the guy who ran the house band asked me, because it was a rock thing if I'd come in and back up Vince Neal as a guest artist. So I helped put together a band for him and stuff. And we learned his songs, and I went on YouTube to get endings and stuff and things like that, because there was just going to be a run through in the afternoon, one of those things. And I heard the horror stories, so I didn't know what to expect, but he showed up and he was just ready to go and just killed it. And he sang great that day. And, he doesn't sing choruses. He'll stick the mic out. So we had like Eric Martin singing backup, Tony Lindsay from Santana singing backup. So we were ready to go with the guns, and the bass player from Santana on bass, and some great guitar players. It was fun. Even John Nyman from Y&T on guitar. But yeah, it was just a blast, and he was great to work with, and he saw we were prepared, so he never said a word, man. He just let us count it off. He did his part, and there we go. So in my case, he was easy to work with. Huh?
Wow.
Awesome.
We've been talking about all these hard rock names, but I also see on this list John Denver. Did you play with John?
Yeah,
we got to hear that.
Wow.
I used to play at the AT&T Golf Classic that used to be what's his name, Bing Crosby, I think, at Pebble Beach, which is only about an hour and a half away from me, down in Carmel. And I'd play it in this house band at a little club coming up. That was like the 90s, to make some dough and have good experiences with some great players. And every year they'd put on we'd host this party, and we'd also play in the club, but they need guys, to back up and perform. And not only did we do a little charity thing with him, but he came into our venue when we were just jamming one night. And this was the best time with him, because he was drinking a little like everybody was doing there. And he just asked if he could play. And we asked guys if they want to play. And he came up and he's like, sure. And luckily I'm playing with guys with big ears who know what they're doing, knew the chords, knew the harmonies, everything. And we all just listened, and we played all those classics, man. And it's just like, I used to watch him like at Christmas time doing specials, or, he had TV specials, and you hear those songs. It's like, oh, wow, I'm contributing to it this time. And you hear the voice, and it's like, it's unreal, So we get him.
Wow.
Who else was in there? The Smothers Brothers. I can't remember the musicians offhand. Tom Selleck used to come hang out. That was an honor, but a lot of great musicians. And it's just off the cuff, but I could say I performed with them a couple times. So that was fun.
It's incredible. It really is.
All
really
part
incredible.
of the education,
Yeah. I mean, just it's really super cool, and like from the moment I met you, and I understand why Rolf was just so passionate about talking about you. Like, said you could tell your love, because we met through my friend Jorge from Rick Springfield's band.
Oh yeah.
Who was a monster drummer.
Oh yeah,
and
he is,
said,
yeah.
And you're great drummer. I mean, great. Hey, you want to hear something wild? When I mentioned that Alice Cooper, he was my tech on that record.
Oh, I think he told me.
He was
yeah. Oh, that's cool.
And he was like, I mean, he was great. He was my tech, and then he went on. Like, now he's been with Rick for 12 years. He does. I mean, Sammy Hagar uses him. Everybody. I mean, the guy's like just blowing up, and it's just and what a hard worker, man. Oh my goodness, I mean, and talk about prepared, man. He has a rhythm watch. He has the iPad. He's got all the tempos down.
Yeah.
The guy can jump in at the moment, because if he knows he's got to do a show, 15 minutes, he's out there doing. He's got his headphones on. He's doing his homework. He's writing out whatever little chart he can do.
Yeah.
But then he goes for it.
Wasn't that rhythm section backing up two other people?
They played with Tommy Tutone and Paul Young, and then and then one night John Waite came out to play with us.
Right.
And you wouldn't even know it, They have a great drummer, Alan Childs, who plays with him, but he couldn't do the gig. He wasn't doing the gig, so Jorge jumped in to do the gig, which was great.
Yeah, cool.
I was so jealous. I mean, listen, if you're a drummer worth your salt, you always want to get up and play.
Sure,
You're right, Freddie. You want to play. You're the same way.
If you're left-handed, like
and Freddie's a lefty, and he's so good. Those Amos Lee records he plays on, man. And he's a great songwriter. He's doing great stuff. You would love his playing, man.
I'm going to be looking it up for sure. Yeah,
but he's a lefty. He's a lefty, which makes it like Then you see the crazy lefties like Elon Rubin, who plays. He sits on a righty kit, plays lefty, and then does like open-handed, and it's like.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you left-footed too? Are you left-footed as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
I sit down at a right-handed kid, play left-handed, right-footed, but normally left, total.
He's brilliant. He's absolutely
Awesome.
Brilliant.
There
Brilliant.
Cool.
So tell me, so Steve Smith.
No.
So Mike and I have been chatting. I told him I was taking drum lessons from Bruce Becker. Because I love Bruce. I took lessons with him before in a group, but I went back to take private lessons with him because he helps me. Like I've never had any problems with my hands or feet or anything because I think I've always looked in what am I going to do to so I never had other than the arthritis that comes with our own age, but I never had any problems with that, Yeah. And I kind of want to keep staying there. So I like investigating and looking into drummers that have are passionate about grips and things like that. And you see another, you talk about Steve Smith, man.
Yeah.
Tell us about your relationship with him.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. That started off, just being a kid who was, I don't know why I was so attracted to his playing and the records and stuff. It must have been some force that was meant to be that I still can't explain. But obviously it turned out it was meant to be because it started off being a kid, just kind of hounding him a little bit, getting in his face so he'll pay attention to me, and just want to, pick his brain and stuff like that. And then one day he saw me at a clinic or something and he was going to be teaching at a music store. And he just said, "Hey man, I'm signing up, guys, you want to do it?" And that was the first time we met and we played together and he saw how much I was into him and all that stuff, the chops and everything. And he turned out recommended me for a gig that day from, I think the lighting guy from Journey was managing a gig. And get this, it was the Wild Dogs that Dean Casanova used to be in. And Dean was moving on. So I went up there and I'd like to think I got the gig, but then I never heard anything. But I think they disbanded. I don't know whatever became of them. But Dean was moving on and more, less heavier stuff. And I wasn't really going down that path anyways, but shoot, I'll do my best anyway. But then, that kind of, then Steve just remembered me. But years later, my phone rang and I think I still kept the cassette on my parents' old home, recording thing, and I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, I'm teaching some lessons at the house, man. If you'd like to come up, check it out." I'm like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah." So that was I think 1992 or something, maybe before.
Wow.
And so we started doing lessons and it became more like hanging out all day, talking, watching videos and playing.
Wow.
And he became just like my mentor, my friend. And to this day, like when he's in town, we'll go grab dinner or something, or during the pandemic. He used to live close to here. Now he has a place in Ashland, Oregon, place in New York, place in upstate New York. And we'll just get on a Zoom call or we'll just get on the phone and he's always excited. You know how it is. Drummers, when they get, something that only drummers can understand, you can't wait to share. Look, guess what I'm working on, And so he's like a little kid and it's so great to see that excitement, And the guy, great. I think he's 69 now and he's so excited about playing. And but what I got from him is he's the most disciplined guy I've ever met drumming wise. He'll practice 6 days a week, no matter what, just try and fit it into his schedule or whatever he's working on and just things he's learning, but just wants to push the envelope of the instrument and never stay stale and doing the same thing. Just kind of keep going ahead like a Miles Davis or something. But so the common thread we have with your teacher is they both studied with Freddie Gruber, who for guys who don't know, he used to be Buddy Rich's roommate. And he's like the guru of body motions and staying away from your own body so you can play everything.
I like how you said staying away from your own body, visual.
My first lessons I was taking with him while he was studying with Freddie, which was cool. So I got to meet Freddie and go to a couple clinics, but I never got the private lessons with Freddie, but just as good because Steve Smith could explain it better, I think, And I mean, the first lessons were just like, okay, when you lift your arm, this is the motion. When you karate or you hit or something, to the basic stuff. And like you said, you think you got good hands and everything's good until you know what you didn't know, and it's just like, oh wow, that's how you do that. That's how Buddy Rich did that,
Yeah. I mean, I still watch is it the Insane solo, at the very end where Buddy's on the rim and he's doing that and he does that and it's all single strokes. He's on the rim and he's dynamic and doing it and the fingers and everything's working.
Sure.
There's still I'll probably to the day I die, I'll be like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah,
like that, it's just my French. Yeah, but because it's crazy. But it's all, and if you watch him, and then everything's like moving, and
when he goes faster, it gets into all that. Yeah, he gets into the molar and things like that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He would also say it's all wrist, no fingers.
Yeah, but
that was Buddy's thing. All wrist.
But it was like, but he could play on a dime. You know, it's like it was kind of crazy. I mean, it's such a crazy thing, but you know, we could dissect it to where I mean, we had like a year dissecting that stuff.
Supposedly he didn't read. He had a guy who would play the chart, and he had a photographic memory.
Wow.
He would get up and play it, but he didn't study. But Henry Adler broke down what he did and said, here's what you're doing.
Wow.
He analyzed his hands.
That's crazy.
I studied with a guy who studied with Adler.
Wow. Who was that?
Paul Patterson.
Oh man. That's I mean, yeah, and then
that's
you got
what
the
I
East
heard.
Coast
That's
guys, you got the West Coast guys. I love hearing these stories from you, Mike, because you know, it's study from Steve, and I told you I'm like this is a West Coast guy. We Zoom the lesson, we do it. I dig it, man. You know, and you know, I can tell you're still, you know, like you're still in that thing where you love learning. You know, I don't. Do you play any other instruments? Do you play any other instruments?
I started on trumpet. Yeah. Yeah.
Right on.
Second grade, senior in high school, I was doing it seriously while I was playing drums. So I thought that's what I was going to do. But drums came easier and more gigs too. You know, I still take it out and play once in a while. But you know, you got to play all the time to keep that tone up. You know, the embouchure.
You're not kidding. You still pick it up from time to time?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I still got good tone, but it only lasts for about 10 minutes. You know.
Yeah, I played just for a little while as a kid. I wanted to go back and do it. I got a couple in my bag. I have a harmonic in G and I got a harmonic in C, and I love playing that, you know. So I mean, I just like, and I play just a little bit of guitar. How about guitar? Do you pick up any guitar?
I picked one up, yeah.
Yeah. So, no,
here's your guitar. Yeah.
Here, it's great. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like like if I get a nice chord sound, like it's an accident.
Yeah.
You know, it's an accident. Well, I think it's great. I mean, it just opens up.
I mean, guys like
other things.
Guys like Kelly Keagy. I mean, he knows enough to get around a guitar enough. That's how he writes his great songs. I never knew that. He sits there and he's like 3 chords and the truth, like every other Nashville country guy says. You know, so I totally encourage it. Learn some keyboards, learn some drums, because the money's in the what do you call it? The not just songwriting. What's the word about publishing? Thank you.
Publishing.
Yeah.
Songwriting. Yeah, I get you. We talked a bit about that today too. You know, indeed. You know, so hey, listen. I want to get to a little play something else too. How are we doing on time? How we doing?
We're at 45 minutes, but we could hang with Mike for a few more minutes, right?
Yeah, definitely, Mike. So we have 2 Y&T tunes. So So we're probably not going to get to both of them. So if you had a choice between
Blind Patriot and Shine On,
what do we play?
You heard a busy song, which was the last one. Blind Patriot's a busy, chops-oriented song, but Shine On's a groove song. And I got to say, Dave encouraged us because we're only a 4-piece. We all got to sing. And unfortunately, but fortunately, I guess, I sing all the high parts with Dave in the band. So, you know, talk about learning to pace yourself and breathing, you know, because Dave is in the stratosphere up there. So I'm singing. So we all sang live on this record too. It's all of us, each guy singing his part instead of just the lead singer singing, you know.
Amazing. You're rocking, buddy, and you're doing the high voice.
Thank you.
You're doing the high voice.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I'm getting used to, man, because it's like when I first got in the band, it was the most physical thing I've ever done because it's a pretty hard band. We were playing 2.5 hour shows and kicking your butt. So that took getting in shape for. And then when I started singing with them, it's like, wow, I had to like start over and rethink it. Cause you know, when you're bashing away and you got to hold a note out steady, it's like,
I don't have to do that. So I don't have to do that. So I couldn't imagine. So, where's your favorite country to go play? Do you have a favorite? If you
oh my gosh, people ask that all the time. And you know, I don't know how many countries you guys get out to, but you know, there's something good in all of them. I'll start with that. But man, when we go to Spain, we play like Madrid and Barcelona, and then parts in the Netherlands, the UK. There's a couple strong spots, and Germany, of course. I heard you mention, and then we're playing in at this place in Tokyo. We play all the time. All the fans of Japan, they're just rock and roll never died, and they're so grateful, and they go crazy, But Ireland, when we go up to Belfast, especially, where the real hardworking, blue collar people are that really appreciate it. That's when it's just killer. But Germany does great, and I heard you saying that in your documentary. And by the way, thanks for sending it. I got to watch the whole thing, man. That was really well done. You got a great story, my friend. Killer. And you made some good decisions in your life. That's for sure.
Well, I had to. It was either go one way or die. I forgot to tell you this, and I don't think I've ever mentioned, and I don't know, but back in the early days of YNT, a video producer, her name was Karen Balone, did a video with YNT in the early days, and she was, I forget where I ended up. There was a leather jacket that somehow she was given, which I ended up with, which was stolen on Tons of Fight. I was doing a commercial for the Bundesbahn. It was stolen. But I remember I was sick over it because Karen Balone gave me the leather jacket, but it came from YNT. It came from a YNT video.
Wow.
It was from a big video. Yeah, her and John Jobson did a video for YNT back in the day.
So one of the guys in the band was wearing it?
One in the video. So I don't know if there's a video with a leather jacket. I ended up with the leather jacket, and then somebody stole it.
So there is a YNT and a Hooters connection.
Yeah, how about that?
There you go.
And I remembered as we were doing this podcast, I went, wait a minute. Karen Balone gave me that jacket, and then it was stolen.
Yeah.
So
with Ralph Fau and then also the sound man, Akim Kohler, it's like we share the same German crew, and every year we're there in the fall. So we're there in the fall, and you guys are there in the summer. It's like maybe we could change our timing and do something together. That'd be so much fun. Yeah.
Oh man, it would be so cool to hang with you there, man. I'll tell you. Love that. And those guys are great. Akim, man. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, he's such. That guy. This guy's an engineer, man. I'll tell you, he puts drums sound like the whole mix. He's got such great ears. He's so good.
Oh yeah. He's
all those guys. Amazing.
It'd be even cool if you guys ended up on the same bill in Europe somewhere. I mean, because you guys played with some kind of hard.
Oh my God, the Hooters could play it's so weird. Experiences. That's I'd see Johnny. We play on the same festival as Johnny's band. We're not like a metal band, but we're going to a metal fest. We did one in Sweden last year. It was a European audience that I think that just were if you rock hard. It could be any genre. If you're putting out, they love you.
They do that a lot. They do a lot more of that in Europe. They mix up genres. We're in America. It's more like a radio station,
Yeah,
but,
it's like
I wanted to ask you something.
Speaking of your documentary, okay, so I got to say, the first time I saw you play live, 1987, because I'm a huge Mickey Curry fan, I went and saw Bryan Adams on that tour. It was an Into the Fire, and you were on it. You guys were opening.
Yeah.
But I saw in your documentary in the 80s, you had in-ear monitors. I didn't even know they were a thing then.
I was the first. I used them at Live Aid. I was one of the only drummers. I think it was the only drummer that used them at Live Aid. Wow. I was the beta tester for Marty Garcia, Future Sonics a plug. I was the only drummer that was using them, and I almost didn't use them then. I decided because sometimes I use wedges, and I decided I'd use them because I knew that beginning of All You Zombies. I knew I wouldn't hear that gliss. And I needed to hear that twist, to play that downbeat, to play that little thing at the beginning of Zombies. If I didn't have that ears, I wouldn't have heard it, and our career could have been boom.
There you go.
Those guys really sucked that day.
Well, a bad drumming performance didn't kill Led Zeppelin at Live Aid. So
that was pretty bad. It was bad. Well, and unfortunately, both the guys were just, Tony wasn't too happy with Phil that day.
That was a great show, man. Live Aid. What a hang that must have been. Oh, my God.
Oh, it was amazing, man. Yeah. Saying Tom Petty show up with his, he grew those sideburns at the time. I was looking for somebody different. He shows up with granny glasses and stuff. And Clapton was amazing. And, Crosby, Stills, and Nash. And I saw David Crosby at his worst that day because he had, you know, it's just ridiculous. But
were you there all day?
I stayed all day.
Did you see Dylan at all or not?
I did, and Ronnie Wood put his shoulder on me, hanging out, but crazy. It was such a crazy day, you know.
Notes, Temptations.
Yeah, so you just right. So Helen does with Eddie Kendrick and David, was it David Ruff? So I'm having coffee in the back, and I was sitting with my girlfriend, sitting there just sitting at a table, and Eddie and David from the Temptations. Sure. I think it was Eddie said, "Do you mind if we join you? Sit down." I was like, "Whoa, yeah, sit down, man." Like he asked, yeah, of course. Amazing. I mean, like, what a day. What a day. It was just incredible. I stayed to the
and that was like some of the best if you're a Mickey Curry fan, man. He was like the house drummer that day. He even mentioned that on your show. I heard that. But yeah, he was playing with Hall & Oates. You back up, the Temptations thing. And then he was backing up Tina and Mick Jagger. And he was on stage for at least an hour and a half, right?
Mickey's been such a unique player, man. You've seen Mickey play, like his pocket. And the way he just the way he talked, the way his body and the way he plays.
Yeah.
He's up there as even like one of my favorites of all time, like just and we're buddies, it's like sometimes.
I got fortunate to know him along the way, and he makes everybody feel like their best friend, so I'd like to say we're really close, but I'm sure everybody he comes across says that, but he's a great guy. But man, speaking of that, and trying to get feel in music, John Tempesta from The Cult, who Mickey played on the Sonic Temple album, and what's the one after that? I can't remember. Anyway, we were talking about another big part of it is like, even Mickey says this too, when he does records, he's just waiting for the day. This is Mickey's words. He goes, "I'm waiting for the day somebody busts me and figures out I'm just imitating Steve Gadd or Jeff Picard or so, whatever." Because, we all imitate our heroes, and that was our training. But you'll never sound like them, so it's always you. But the other thing John and I noticed is like, like Mickey especially, when you're grooving, this is a big part of making a song feel good, is how you get that, your head movement, which way you're going depending on the groove, you know what I'm saying? And like Mickey pushes off, down, knees back, and, all those little things. Pay attention to that stuff, because if the guy's swinging, it's all
right on it, and the snare drum is just right behind it. You wrote something real quick, and it's in your bio. You call yourself where it says you're straight ahead. Was it straight ahead drummer? Was it you use that thing? And I was like, man, I to me, like, I love drummers that groove. Like my man next to me grooves like nobody else. Awesome. You're a groover. I love that. I love Jeff Picard. Mickey's playing. The great Dave Maddox. Like those are drummers that I listen to that are just they just understand. Like they make it feel good for the song to breathe.
Oh yeah. My favorite. What's that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike. Because I was going to say I hate to be a buzzkill, but I know we do have to wrap this up in like 2 minutes.
What do you got? Tell your
story, Mike.
Yeah, your dinner will still be there. It'll be fine. Don't worry.
Well, I'm worried about Rich back in the studio over there.
Yeah, he fell asleep. Don't worry. But anyway, I was just going to say real quick. Yeah, I grew up listening to the. I would start with my favorite drummers, who at the time were like Geoff and Mickey and John Robinson and any of those groove guys I get my hands on, and I could sit here for an hour and name them all. But who did they listen to? So then you're into Bernard Purdy, and you're going back and you listen to all these cats. Okay. So that was the groove side of it. And then you go the other way and you start studying Tony Williams and all these guys. Because I like the quote unquote fusion drummers. The ones that sound like they can play, they're just as good in a rock situation as they do R&B, jazz, whatever. Like Vinnie Colaiuta, Steve Smith, Weckl, and Simon Phillips, on and on and on and on.
Virgil Donati.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm just going back.
Very Brown. Listen, man. Part 2. We'll do a part 2 sometime, Mike.
I'm ready. Yeah.
And you mentioned that. I know we could go.
There it is.
Mike, there's your website. Anything else we need people to know about what's going on?
It's like if you want to get hip to my recording process or you need some tracks on your record, I'm giving a plug. Or drums, of course, you want to take your playing to the next level. I teach all levels. There it is. myname.com.
If you're just listening and not watching us right now, the website is MikeVanderhule.com, and that's VanderHule.com. So check it out.
Yeah.
Brother,
Excellent, man.
be in touch. I'll send you some links. You can post it for your friends. We'll get it out there. Mike, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Hey, this means a lot. Thanks. I'm honored to be a guest on here. You guys are great, man. Thank you. Great questions. Great hang.
Go Birds.
All right, man. See you guys. Take care.
David Uosikkinen in Pocket is sponsored by the School of Rock Main Line. I'd like to thank the School of Rock Main Line, located at 511 Old Lancaster Road in Berwyn. You can visit their website at schoolofrock.com. Ask for Dave Marsh or Rick Allison.